This is the audio version of the More to the Point newsletter, which you can get every week in your inbox on Wednesdays for free by signing up at the link in the show notes. Today, I want to talk about something we're not used to seeing in American life right now, and that is somebody changing his mind in real time. But that's what happened on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast when Bono, the U2 frontman and longtime humanitarian leader, laid out in detail for Rogan the cost of ending a program that has actually worked, PEPFAR, a program that has saved countless people in Africa from dying of AIDS. And Rogan, usually the skeptic in the room, seemed convinced. He seemed concerned about what was going on. We all should be. And that's especially true of American evangelical Christians. Bono has been an advocate for PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, since its beginnings in the George W. Bush administration. And Bono has made a clear, balanced case. He acknowledged on the Rogan show that some foreign aid programs are wasteful, mismanaged, they need to be cut or reformed. But then he showed why these cuts to PEPFAR and similar efforts are short-sighted, counterproductive, and deadly. Bono cited on that show, among other things, reporting by my CT colleague, Emily Bells, on the ground in places where these policies hit with devastating force. In a recent panel, my friend David Brooks pointed to Boston University research, estimating that in just 4 months since PEPFAR has been dismantled, 55,000 adults and 6,000 children have died. If you count the damage done by other programs being cut as well, the number jumps to 300,000. And Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times has given these numbers names and faces. He writes of Evan Anzu, a 5-year-old boy born with HIV. He was alive thanks to antiretroviral drugs that cost less than 12 cents a day. Then the aid was frozen, the medicine stopped, and Evan died. Kristof asks, how could a 5-year-old orphan possibly obtain medicine on his own? We also hear of Akol Dang, an 8-year-old girl. Same story, same tragedy. Mindy Bells, the evangelical journalist and friend, she's the mother of Emily, cited before, writes about Coffin Row from her time in Malawi. The death toll then from HIV/AIDS was overwhelming, and she compares that now to a warehouse in Kenya where millions of antiretroviral drugs sit unused, frozen by the State Department. Experts believe that because of all of this year alone, the death toll will be 1.6 million people. 1.6 million people. The horror here is not just in the number, it's in the pointlessness. This does nothing to reduce the deficit. Doesn't help national security. In fact, it hurts it because American interest abroad being gone like this is filled by rivals. But beyond that, it ought to break the hearts of American evangelical Christians in every aspect of that identity. Let's start with the American part. When we think of American foreign policy over the last 50 years, most people think about failures. They think about helicopters leaving Saigon with people trying to get on them in South Vietnam after the collapse of that government after the Vietnam War. Or they think of the collapse of Afghanistan when America calamitously pulled out and our Afghan allies were left behind. We remember those stories because they're real. But when we think about PEPFAR, we're thinking about something that America did right, a just cause, effectively carried out, and now it's being abandoned. Now let's think about the evangelical part. The PEPFAR coalition included everyone from Bono to Bush, even the hard right former segregationist leader, Senator Jesse Helms. One of the earliest champions of the program was my friend Michael Gerson, an evangelical Christian, Wheaton College graduate. He was inspired by the legacy of evangelical revivalists who fought the slave trade and fought the institution of slavery. This coalition did not emerge despite evangelical beliefs, but because of them. So when people claim that evangelical Christianity is only about preserving power or protecting the status quo or lining up with some political interest, we can point to PEPFAR and say, no, not always. Not when we live up to what we say we believe. And that brings me to the most important word here, and that's Christian. Now, I've often said here, the gospel doesn't come with a political blueprint, but it does form our consciences to be the kind of people who know what is right and wrong, who know what is just and unjust. Maybe somebody will find a better alternative to PEPFAR. Maybe it will be more cost effective. Fine, let's have that conversation. But what's happening now isn't a debate. No one's suggesting something that can do what PEPFAR is doing better or cheaper. It's about denial. There's the denial that people are dying. There's the denying the dying altogether. And the church in the global south, where the gospel is actually growing and exploding, sees this. But it's easy in North America to pretend that little Evan never existed and never died. A friend told me he asked for prayer in his church for those dying of AIDS because of these cuts. He just asked for prayer. Someone was upset afterward and said, "Why are you putting politics into our prayer meeting?" Politics? This man said to me, I had no idea that simply praying in the spirit of James 1:27 that says that pure religion is to look after orphans and widows in their distress, that would be political. If that's political now, what does that say about our politics or about our prayer? We Christians ought to remember where the world got its sense of human rights and dignity in the first place. Not from the Enlightenment, not from cold reason, but from the gospel of a crucified and resurrected Christ, the church that he formed, that radical claim that every person matters. Now is not the time to forget that. Joe Rogan sees it. So should we. This has been the audio version of the More to the Point newsletter. You can get it in your inbox every Wednesday for free by clicking on the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.